Wealth Management with the Gradient Investments Weekly Market Update. All information is gathered as of November the 4th, 2024, but today is the 6th, and my goodness, what's happening today? The elections have happened. President Trump's our new president. So why is that good for the market? What's going to happen? Everybody always wants to know, Joe, what happens if Harris gets in? What happens if Trump gets in? What's that going to do to the market? Well, we already saw. We'll talk more about this next week, but we already had a rally of 1,400 points up in the Dow today. Why? The optimism of the deregulation, the optimism of the cutting of different taxes, of encouraging growth. That's what the market is responding to. What you also saw is the run up to the market, because a lot of people don't realize this, but when they're betting on the market, you know how there's a lot of wagers going on in Vegas or where have you, but they're betting on the market of who's going to win. And the stats had been saying that Trump was going to win. The market liked that. Why? Because deregulation, good for business, good for profits. And what happens when the company profits go up, so does the stock market, which is good for our 401ks, good for our retirement programs. So that's all part and parcel of it. So we'll see how that happens down the road, but that's what's happening today. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. And why is everything changing? So everything should be moving around a little bit, but we're starting to see the interest rates kind of creep back up again, where the 10-year Treasury is up a lot higher than it was. So that's, the interest rates aren't down as much as they are. So, but we're going to get into that. So let's talk about today's market update with the Gradient Investments. So what's basically happened, or what happened in the last week? Well, last week the stocks were down with the U.S. small cap, the Russell 2000. Did have gains. The S&P 500 is now flat quarter to date, but remains up 21.47% year to date. The international developed markets, which is the EFA, and the emerging markets reverted more aggressively and are now up 7.5% and 12.45% respectively year to date. How about the bonds? The U.S. aggregate were also down last week and are up 2.4% year to date. The U.S. Treasury rates have risen significantly during the quarter, which is a headwind for bond prices. So we're seeing that happen as well. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the employment. I think we're going to cover that here. So the upcoming economic release, the Fed Open Market Committee meets tomorrow, and it's widely expected that the Fed funds rate will be reduced by a quarter point. We've been expecting that quarter point because it's been higher for longer, and so they got to start lowering them a little bit at a time. How about a market outlook? In the opinion of Gradient Investments, stocks and bonds are trading on the coming election, which is what we just talked about, with the same positioning based on who they expect to win. This is not the opinion of a recommended strategy for investing. We're not trying to say, oh my gosh, do this because we think who's going to win. But we believe the outcome of the presidential election, as well as the result of the House and Senate races, are far from decided. Well, that's all coming through. This was a couple days ago. So we know what's happening now. Therefore, there is a rational investment case for preempting the election and positioning for one candidate over another. That's what the markets do. We'll talk a little bit more about that. They were always seeing that. That's why the market has been running up for that reason. Recent activity. Let's talk about the laddered income portfolio and the gradient portfolio. Rebalanced, rolled forward last week. For example, the 2-year ladder is now 50% allocated for 2025 and 50% allocated for 2026 bonds. Also, stocks in the news. McDonald's, which is owned in the Core Select NG50, reported quarterly results that beat expectations for both sales and earnings. The company stated that the daily sales and traffic turned negative immediately after the recent E. coli outbreak, which wasn't really aware of, but they do not expect the situation to have a material impact on its business. How about Visa, which is owned in the Core Select NG50, reported quarterly results that beat expectations for both sales and earnings. The CFO of Visa stated that the earnings call that the consumer spending across segments has remained relatively stable compared to the prior quarter. So that's what they're looking at as spending. We're also looking at, now that we're coming into Thanksgiving coming, Christmas shopping, so we're keeping a close eye on what this consumer spending is looking like right now. We've also noticed a lot of debt, so the savings accounts have dwindled, the debt's starting to get higher, the revolving credit, we're starting to see that. That's not a good sign. But we're talking about the headwinds. Remember last week we talked about the jobs numbers and how I wasn't really confident. I says, my gosh, they created those many jobs, it doesn't make any sense. Sure enough, they immediately had a revision right afterwards. A week later, So the jobs have not been as rosy. They come out with a jobs report and everybody says, wow, look at these job numbers. The jobs are up 250,000. Then the next week they revise it down 150,000. So we haven't been getting really good information on that. So hopefully we're going to start to see that better so we can gauge everything. And that's basically a lot of the run up in the market. That's why it comes back and forth when they see the revision. However, that being said, what do we always talk about? Proper allocation, making sure don't let our emotions get the best of us. Proper allocation and making sure you got money in safety, money in growth. And still, it's a good time. We're starting to see rates come down on the annuities, but it's still got a 5.2% guarantee on that. And there's still a good time to make sure to lock into those higher interest rates before the Fed starts cutting and the rates do go down. So reach out, talk to us. Very thankful to have you part of the Vitale Wealth family. So God bless you. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again next week.